don't think it's a good idea to have snow already.
But it is the winter time.
It's not winter time, Tess. It's November.
It's on the side of the equinoxical thing.
Does it have to be? I miss when winter was in July.
Oh, right. On the other side of the world.
Yes. It still doesn't make any sense to me that you can't get like fresh fruit off trees in December.
We can't get fresh fruit off trees in July.
That's a good point. That's a good point. There are some prickly pears around that have some decent cactus fruit on them.
Wait for the bare necessities. That's all I can think of when I hear prickly pears.
Yeah, that tracks.
How's that going? I can't think. I'm not gonna remember. Something about beware the claw. Use the claw and beware the claw. Something like that. I don't remember.
Don't pick a prickly pear by paw.
That's what it is.
If you're gonna pick it, gotta use the claw.
That's right.
Yeah, we're probably gonna get sued now. I'm kidding.
Disney has the time for that.
Nobody from Disney's ever gonna Oh my god. Yeah, that was.
Is the government shutdown really that bad?
Are you inferring that Disney's in charge of the government shutdown?
Wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's probably right, actually. I would not doubt it at all if you told me that Disney inspired the government shutdown.
Got quiet in here.
Yeah, well, that fireplace is shockingly loud,
And
actually.
it is. It's toasty. See, that's why I wanted snow, is so it can be snowy outside, and I can have a cup of tea and sit in front of the fireplace.
And it will be loud.
It will be loud.
You want it to snow so that the fireplace can be loud.
That's right. No, because we have a fancy new fireplace.
We do have a fancy new fireplace. It is very fancy.
Yes.
And very authentically stone.
Oh, yes. Made each brick myself.
Every single fiberglass brick
That's right.
was made by hand. Oh, God.
Carried them up from the creek.
Now you're just being mean. It's exactly what happened at my grandparents' house.
I know. I was trying to be impressive.
Yeah, we did all of those from my grandparents. Were in like one truckload that they carried up from the creek. River Rock. Which is pretty impressive.
Which creek?
It wasn't a creek, it was the Clark Fork River.
Oh. That giant body of water over there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. People who don't know anything about Montana are very lost.
Well, the Clark Fork River is in Montana, and it winds back and forth probably 97 times over Highway 200.
And it's large.
And it's large. It is large.
Yes. Very pretty.
Very pretty. And in the wintertime, sometimes there's holes in the ice with little oil slicks. And you think, oh goodness, that definitely wasn't a car. And then you never hear anything about it. Because it's backwoods Montana and already very haunted, and we don't need to bring down more upon ourselves.
We don't talk about our problems.
Oh, we don't talk about the people who drowned in the creek. Serves them right. to go back there anymore.
Yeah. I was at class today, and our teacher was just kind of all over the place. But at one point, she started talking about culture, and she gave us this little half-page worksheet about what was your family culture, and like just right off the bat, it was like, I mean, it's like, where were you born? And that was easy. But then it was like, what is your name and how does it reflect your family heritage?
Oh God.
I know. And then there was like, you know, there was other like family traditions and stuff like that, and it just kind of like, just right away when I read through the questions, it just hit me that like, man, this is actually kind of a hard thing for me to do. Like,
yeah,
thinking about thinking about family stuff, and because it's so, the whole being shunned thing is, I mean, it's still fairly fresh, I think. It is still fairly fresh, and I was just like, man. And then my teacher, she was like, yeah, I did this exercise lots and lots of times, and then one day I noticed somebody was kind of off to the side and looked like they weren't okay, and I asked them about it, and the lady was like, yeah, I had this really abusive family, and I can't do this exercise. And my teacher was like, so, you know, answer the questions you can answer, and, you know, no pressure and stuff like that.
And yet she's still using this exercise.
Yeah, I know.
She knows that some people just really legitimately aren't okay with it. That's kind of fucked up.
I know. Yeah. But it was interesting though, like me sitting there kind of having a hard time, and the contrast between like me and my story, which, you know, my family wasn't abusing me physically and stuff like that, as opposed to that lady who was apparently was physically abused and stuff, and ended up kind of being raised by other families in high school and things like that. I don't have that kind of a story, but it still makes, but like just the what I'm going through now with my family really overshadows so many things that weren't even bad. You know, some of them were good, I would say, in my childhood. Like, I think I had a good childhood overall, just in terms of being loved and getting to do like fun family things and play games and go on vacations and not be scared of my parents. You know, like that wasn't a thing. But like, you know, now you look back on it and it's so overshadowed by being shunned by the family and all of the crap that goes along with that. It's very, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't even know where I'm going. It's just talking about family and that really hit me today.
Was it more the name sort of stuff that hit you, or the I don't have this culture anymore that hit you?
Probably more the culture thing, because like with the name thing, that kind of was like a weird curveball. But then I was, because the question was like, what was the word? Shoot, I'm not gonna remember the word. But after I thought about it for a second, because I was like, I don't have an answer for that with the name thing. I just don't have an answer. My name doesn't fit the family tradition thing. But then I was like, oh, I know. And I ended up writing down, like, I picked my own name and it doesn't reflect family, gosh, I wish I could remember the word, but heritage or traditions, because I'm starting my own new heritage and traditions. And so that was kind of cool that I got to kind of like see how that flipped to, at least like I'm creating something new and I can be proud of. But then like, yeah, like family traditions was weird, because it's like, yeah, there were family traditions, but we don't take part in them anymore, right? And they're not like something we're going to be passing down for the most part. And I don't know, maybe I just didn't think of something, I don't know, but my that was my reaction in the moment. It was just like, that's not really a thing for me. We don't get to pass down family traditions, like, because we think a lot of them are harmful, and and I feel like, again, the shunning thing affects it, because even if it wasn't necessarily harmful, but now it's tainted by that separation, and there's no real reason to carry it forward if there's not that connection. In my mind, I don't know. That's where it is in my mind right now, I guess. But
so, what sort of things are you thinking of when you're thinking of like family traditions in that way? Then,
I mean, in my family, a lot of the traditions revolve around church and things we would do at holidays at church. And stories about God, and stories, I mean, like Christmas, like, they asked, like, what was exciting about, like, what was your favorite holiday growing up, and what was important about it, or whatever. And like, there were things I thought were exciting about it that were specific to me, but when I think about it, my family, we celebrated Christmas, was big at my house. Why was it big? Because it was about Jesus, right? Like, that was why it was a big holiday, is because it was all about Jesus. And it just so happened that the culture we live in made it so there were days off, and um, fun things included. But the real reason for my family growing up, the reason Christmas was a big holiday was because Jesus, and so, like, you take that out, and it's not, you can't, like, I can't, for me, I can't tie it to my current thought process about celebrating that holiday to what my family did, because that was so central to them. Like, that was the whole thing. They would tie everything to Jesus. Right? Like, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, the real meaning of Christmas is Jesus, and then they believed it and thought that, and everything was tied to that, and you take that out and it just all falls apart. In terms of, like, carrying on their idea of what that was about, right? That's what fun. I mean, there's things that like, you could pick out pieces, and I don't know, smoking turkeys, and putting up Christmas trees, and there are things that you can pull out, I guess, but I think, I don't know, the broad scope of it just hit me today. But, and in that moment, I wasn't thinking about Christmas trees and smoked turkeys. I was just thinking about, like, it's just not connected. It doesn't feel connected to me at all at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, I don't know how we got there.
That's okay. Well, it ties into the book that I wanted to tie into today, which is Prosocial. And the meaning of prosocial, or the message of prosocial, is that it is incredibly necessary to have societal traditions and societal relationships, and have a connection with people in a community. And if you don't have that, it's really hard to exist as a human being, because that is how we are designed or evolved to exist. So the idea of prosocial is you have to nurture connections and relationships with the people around you, and that is how you actually make a society, and how you make a community, and how you find meaning as a human being. And the idea behind it is also that if you remove those relationships or disrupt those relationships for whatever reason, including shunning, then you create pretty much a tear in your emotions, in your inside. There's just a tear in your being, because you've ripped away a large part of what makes you actually human by taking out those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's I think what I was feeling today was just like that tear, and like I don't think I always notice it in every moment of life, right? Especially like for us, like we've talked about, it was kind of a drawn out process. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't like this very dramatic single event.
Yeah, it wasn't like a rip. It was like taking. I know you don't sew, but
well, I've tried.
Yeah.
To comical effects.
It's less like a rip and more like taking out a seam ripper and picking out every single stitch individually, one by one.
I've done that.
Yeah, you have done that. Yeah. More like that and less like a prompt dislocation. More of an intentional picking.
Yeah.
A very intentional destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit on both sides, depending on the moment. Because, like, we intentionally separate ourselves from them for very specific reasons on a lot of things. And then, and vice versa. And slowly over time, just in the end, the effect is separation, for sure.
Yeah. So, how does it feel or how does it look on a daily basis to have essentially removed a part of your humanity in those terms?
It's a good question. It does, like, I have to go back again to that exercise today because it was, again, it affected me in that moment because it was just like this realization of like a lack, like a cutting off from history. I don't know. I don't know how else to phrase it. It's just like, it's not that, because obviously the history still happened, right? Like, we still have ancestors. And we experienced traditions with our families. But it's like, it's really hard to explain. It's like, it's like this, I've come to a point of being separated from it because I have to be. And so just in thinking about it, it just feels like looking at this kind of hole that's slowly fading away is what it felt like today. Like just because like there's nothing to reach out to grasp back onto it, right? Like I can't go and just talk to people in my family and ask them about things, right? Like if I had to, I could. You know, like if it were super important, you know, probably we could pull it off. But just to go casually ask about ancestry and history and traditions and yada yada yada, it would be very difficult at this point. And so I just kind of see it like slipping and fading and having to kind of turn around, face forward, and try and live in the world I have now, which is, you know, kind of the piecemeal chosen family world that we've been trying to piece together the last few years and making friends and it's different. Like it's so different from blood family history. least it is in my head at this point in my life, just because you don't have that timepiece, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of rambling because it's really hard to describe.
It is.
Like
it is a very hard thing to describe.
Really hard to describe.
Because when you look back on history, not even just personal history, but the history of nations and bloodlines, when you look at people who are intentionally made into diaspora, like by subjugation and relocation and that sort of thing, one of the primary ways that they end up being subjugated and losing a sense of self and being able to be underneath another person or underneath another society is that erasure of personal and familial history. Because you're taking away the traditions and you're taking away the family, you're taking away the bloodline, you're taking away the knowledge of where someone came from, and by that you're taking out a giant part of what makes a human human. So how do you justify, given that that's a traumatic wound for societies as a whole when that happens to them, how do you justify doing that intentionally to yourself and your family? Your family being like your kids.
Well,
it's supposed to be a hard question.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have good reasons, right? In theory.
Yeah. Because when I look at that, I do have a lot of familial history, and one of the big things that my family does together is tell family history stories. And usually the patriarchs of this, sometimes the matriarchs, are painted as folk heroes. They are folk heroes, essentially. Like, for example, one of my great-grandmothers or great-great-grandmothers, we always tell stories about how she had a gun and she was all alone and she was just so annoyed at these goofy skunks that kept coming in. So she saw this skunk pop up behind the woodshed and she was so mad she finally shot this skunk that she'd been looking for forever. And then she turned to go back in the house and she saw something moving by the woodshed and it was the skunk. So she shot the skunk again, and she's usually a really good shot. So it didn't make any sense that the skunk was there, and then she turned around after she was sure she shot the skunk, and out of the corner of her eye, again, she sees this stupid fucking skunk. So she shoots this stupid thing, and this just keeps going, and then eventually it finally stops popping out from behind the woodshed, and she walks around the back, and there were 7 dead skunks back behind the woodshed.
I've never heard that story, just for the record.
It's amazing. But a lot of those stories also, because some of them are just funny, and the funny ones are like that, are the ones that I can usually remember and come through. But most of the stories in my family history were co-opted by religion. So when you go back to every single family story, and every single family story isn't just a family story, it has a moral, and the moral is always Jesus. The moral is always God, and the moral is always you are poor and will always be poor, and the only way that you're ever going to have anything in this world is if you believe in Jesus, and Jesus will make it come together.
Yeah.
Like my dad came to visit us one time, and we were working on a project together, and I pulled out our hammer drill, like the Milwaukee hammer drill, and he's like, wow, that's a nice drill. I'm like, yeah, we really like this one. And he's like, well, what's the story behind that? Because in my family, every single tool has to have a story of how God provided that tool. So it was already a betrayal of family history when I said,
we went out and bought it.
We like this tool. We used a friend, so we went and bought a Milwaukee hammer drill because it's a good tool and we enjoy using it for our projects. But that already was a betrayal of the family history because it didn't elevate the story of Jesus above the story of the family.
Yeah.
And it was literally the most mundane thing in the world.
Just
and it wasn't supposed to be.
Tool that we've used for years and years.
Yeah, we've used this stupid thing for at least 11 years now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a Jesus story, so it's not a real tool.
Yeah. No, I think co-opted is actually really the thing that comes to mind for me for like why I have to cut off. Is because I mean that was a great example of religion co-opting everything, and it's everything. I mean I think that's really hard to explain to people if they don't know, but like the religion really co-opts everything, and it
high control religion specifically.
Yeah,
because like
there are
some people who believe in God, do great things for God, but it's not everything.
Yeah,
it's not everything. But in a high control religion, literally every single thing has to do with God. So like if I go to the grocery store, I have to buy the cheapest possible out of all the options of chicken because God gave me this money and I have to make sure that I'm being a wise steward of it. So I have to go with the cheapest option, the best option. You have to know everything about every grocery so that you can make sure you're getting the best deal, so that you can use the money that God gave you appropriately, because he could have given it to somebody starving somewhere else, but he gave it to you, so every single cent needs to be accounted for.
Yeah. Well, the way I came to think of it was like the always having to give God credit, right? Like that was and it was for every freaking thing. Like you could,
like when the old person comes to church and you're like, how are you today? And they're like, well, I woke up again this morning, glory to God.
Right, yeah, every freaking thing. It's like, well, okay, but you woke up, to use that example, right? Like you did a thing, and that was a good thing that you did. And so, it's, I mean, just so bad for self-esteem. But at least it definitely wasn't my family.
Yeah. because you're not allowed to take credit for any good thing that you do because it wasn't you, it was God.
Always God doing it. And it applies to literally everything. And they in their minds they're paying it forward to, that hope in heaven and
jewels
eternity
on the crown in heaven.
Jewels on the crown in heaven. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of so all their self-esteem is based on this idea of getting a reward in heaven. and it's so the problem that I have still very much to this day is just seeing how fake that feels in almost every situation, even in the sincere, even though they're sincere, it comes off as you are a fake person who is just doing this for
you're doing it for Jesus clout.
Yeah. Virtue signaling is such a big thing in my family, and so you do everything in order to look like you're just doing it right, and you never get a chance to grow because you always have to make it look like this very clean slate, virtuous, righteous thing that always looks the same, and so it leaves very, very little room for change, for growth, for making mistakes and learning from them, and I mean that still happens to some degree because they're humans, but it's very it's in a very limited way because of what they believe and how they have to present themselves to the world, and so they don't change and grow. You'll hear them saying the same phrases
Since
year after year after year after year. Yeah. If you were to record them, 10 years apart, there might be some subtle differences, but I think the bulk of it would be the same, and I know the bulk of it would be the same. Some things do change
because
they're
recorded
human.
them 10 years apart.
Yeah, right. And we've seen this. And some things do change because culture does slowly change, and there are changes. I won't deny that, but it is slow and not really about growth, and it's just kind of, there's gonna be time happens, so that's kind of what it comes down to. If time didn't happen, it would just always stay the same, and I don't know. And it was very interesting to me the last time I saw my extended family, just kind of seeing, because I hadn't seen them all in a while. And so it was a little bit more obvious to me, I think, that time, that particular reality of they haven't changed in years. It's been years.
Yeah.
Right? And I've changed so much. Like the stark contrast to what's happened to me in a few years. Which, might not be the best example, but I'm obviously probably an extreme example. But still, just saying the same thing, singing the same songs, having the exact same ideas. It was very sad to me to see it, honestly. That was just such a and when you ask, why do you have to cut that off? Why are you active? It's not just them choosing this shunning thing, right? It's not. I've ripped out stitches too.
Chose it on purpose.
I've ripped out stitches too, and why would you do that? Well, because it's not healthy. That world, that lack of growth, that lack of ability to ask questions, that lack of room to doubt and to fail and to grow is just so not healthy, and it means you can't be who you are, and you can't be different. Literally, you're not allowed to be different, and it's not healthy. And I guess that's really what it comes down to. Do I want to choose to live with a group of people who are healthy or not healthy? And like you said, there's a lot of health benefits that come along with maintaining your family traditions. But if they're that toxic and that, in a way, the way I think about it, anti-human, because they're thinking about life as if it were very different than the reality. Yeah, that concept of eternity. I think we talked about that a little bit once.
Mm-hmm.
that concept of eternity really, it if you think you live forever, that's very different than the reality that I know that I'm not going to live forever. Right? I'm going to die. And I believe that's it in terms of my lived experience, right? So my lived experience has to reflect my understanding of what that means to be mortal and to, try and make decisions based on that reality. And that's very different. That looks very different than making decisions with the belief that those decisions are playing into this immortal life that goes on forever and ever.
Well,
it's a very different decision-making process.
When they look at, we'll take you for an example since you used an example. When they look at the fact that you've changed, they see a threat.
Oh, absolutely.
because you're not supposed to change. You're supposed to stay the same because you have truth. Why would you change anything between now and eternity? Like, I mean, you can procreate, but it has to be the same.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You have to raise your children like you were raised. You have to tell them the same things. Use the same textbooks. Like my family still uses the same textbooks that they did when I was small, and the only thing that's changed is, like, I'm pretty sure they got an encyclopedia after the 1997 encyclopedia, and that was, like, really stepping out there.
Yeah.
In our minds, was getting different information than we had in the 1997 encyclopedia.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you found the fountain of youth and realized it was that's not a good analogy. What's a better analogy? I have an idea in my head. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. It's like if you're wandering around in the dark and you found one little thin light, and that was, and if you just walked on it, it was going to get you out of you believed it was going to get you out of the dark if you just walked on this thin light. And you couldn't go either way, right? That's how they see life. It's like, just, and there's no choice but to stay on the thin light. But if what they don't know is, if they took 3 steps to the left, they could walk through a door into this bright world with colors and lots of other things.
You're just describing Plato's cave.
I guess so.
So Plato's cave, when it was described to me in one of the very, very not religious classes that they offered at Moody Bible Institute, I had O'Neill for this. That was my professor's name. And he explained it as, you're in a cave, you know nothing but the cave. And then one day, you see on the wall, there's the outline. Let's see if we can do this. Yeah, there's the outline of a bunny on the wall. And the bunny tells you stories, and the bunny's there, and the bunny's the most real thing that you've ever seen. And your entire reality is explained to you by this bunny. But your reality is still explained by a shadow puppet bunny on the wall of a cave, and that's your entire reality. And if you want that to be your entire reality, it can be your entire reality. You don't have to turn around and find the light source. You don't have to see where the shadow puppet's coming from. You don't have to even leave the cave. But that's where your knowledge comes from, is where you decide it comes from. And if you decide to leave that and go outside the cave, and then you try to come back and talk to these people who have had their entire existence explained to them by a shadow puppet bunny, they're not going to believe you.
And they don't.
Because existence isn't outside and sunshine. Existence is a shadow puppet bunny on the wall of a cave, and it has been for
a long time.
My father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather. Everybody's seen the shadow puppet bunny explain the world, and why would you want anything more than that? Because we're all going to die and face eternity, and we're all going to face the same eternity, so why would you need any more information than your great-grandfather had explained to him by the shadow puppet bunny?
Yep.
But it's difficult when you have to leave that sort of a place, because not only does that rend your personal history from you, but these are the only people you were allowed to trust. And you were allowed to trust in very specific shadow bunny circumstances. And when you leave that, when you walk outside of that cave, suddenly there's not a structure on which to build relationships or friendships. And it's really hard to trust people because you learn to trust them in a very specific way. And now you're having to rebuild that from the ground up. So how do you find relationships and how do you make relationships when you're coming outside of the cave and trying to talk to people who didn't grow up with the Shadow Bunny?
Well, the good news is, in my experience, it's not just you, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
all relationships are a two-way street. And so as lost as I might be trying to make friends, like, there's other people out there who didn't always live in the cave or aren't living in the cave who also want to make friends, right? And so I think a lot of it is just like doing your best to figure out who you are outside of the cave, and and being honest with people, and you know, not giving up, and finding new things to do, and new dreams to have, and new things to be passionate about, and on that journey you're gonna meet people. I don't think that's optional. Right, you're going to meet people, and um, it's that same, I mean, I think learning to trust people is a similar step to learning to step out of the cave and be willing to doubt and be willing to try and be willing to ask the questions
And be willing to be wrong.
Be willing to be wrong. Yeah, be willing to be hurt, and because like, I mean, if you've done that, you're gonna get hurt by various things. um, and and there's no like promise of anything, but while there's no promise, I would say in a there's hope, right? Like, there's, if in a world outside of the dark cave, there's the hope of possibility, because there's so many possibilities, right? And I mean, yeah, there's negative possibilities, but there's also a hope of positive possibilities, and that's why I really like football. and and in the game of football, it's usually about a 3 hour long game, right? And within that 3 hours, there's a whole world of possibilities that before the game you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, right? But it has a set of rules, and everybody has this understanding, and they engage in this world of possibilities that unfolds in the course of 3 hours. And there's disappointments, and there's victories, and there's and there's suffering, and there's friendship, and all these things. God, that was horrible English. All these things packed into a 3 hour time period. Just because humans decided to take the risk to play this game, right? To interact with each other in this pre-agreed upon way and see what happens. Like, that's pretty much what it is, right? Like, we're just gonna see what happens. And somebody wins and somebody loses. Right? And which has its own effects on lots of people, right? But but that's life. That's living, right? Like, that possibility for both victory and defeat. That possibility for joy and for suffering. That possibility for victory or defeat. Did I say that already? I said it already.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking of it in two different ways, but that's actual living in this mortal life where we're experiencing these things moment by moment and not just shuffling it all off to eternity, right? Because like in a game, you can't shuffle it off into eternity. It's gonna happen in the middle of the game, right? And it's not even a matter of. I think that's probably the thing I like about it the most. Like no matter how hard you believe you're going to win in a football game, like if you're rooting for your team or if you are on the team and you can just believe as hard as you want, there's a large chance they're gonna lose the game. Right? Like, which is so the opposite of what I was taught my whole life about faith and belief. Because I was just always taught if you just trust and believe, you're going to win, right? You're going to heaven. You're going to be saved. You're going to
do it perfect.
You're gonna, yeah. And that's what I was taught my whole life. And so, like, so a game is just so the opposite of that. Where it actually, all of the factors matter. All of the things that are actually happening in that moment make a difference. And the fact that there's a whole bunch of other people that believe the opposite of what you believe, maybe, right? That the other team's gonna win in this, you know, that you know, that could happen, right? Or maybe they'll be the ones who are disappointed in this 3-hour game, right? Like, we don't know. At the beginning of the game, we have no idea. We can guess, and we can, you know, we have hours of commentary trying to figure it out. But you don't actually know, because that's life. That's real life, and the reality of that, the realness of that, the humanness of that, is really, I think it is inspiring to me. And what you're talking about with, like, okay, what does it look like outside of the cave? Well, I don't know. Right? I'm not even going to pretend to know. But what I do know is that now there's a whole bunch of things that are possibilities. And there's both things that could be really happy and also things that could be really sad. And I'm not just pretending like, because I'm making the right decision or rooting for the right team, it's all going to be happy and okay. And that's such a different thought process. Like, for me, it really, it feels real. It feels, you know, it's like, ending the pretend game and finding out that there's just a real game you're actually in. You know? Like, I don't know. It's way more exciting. It's way more interesting. It's
more real.
More real. I was gonna say it. It's more real. And it's kind of ridiculous that my example is a football game, which, you know, it's just a game. I know that, but
football's still real. We'll grant you that football's real.
Yeah.
So we're at 48 minutes.
Oh.
So we're gonna stop this for now. Take a break.